Hi, and welcome to this week's weekly wrap up for Friday, January 24th, 2025. Thanks as always for tuning in. We appreciate it. We have a lot to cover as always, so let's get started. So this week's shows, we had Alistair McLeod, David the Man Mahoney, Derek Johnson, Lloyd Brunson, Holly Celiano, and Sandy Mirarecki. We always enjoy having them on and getting their invaluable insight and wisdom. Next week, we have Bill Holter, Colin, who is the CEO of our newest sponsor, Noble Gold, and Chris and I for a monthly channel update on the status of the limited edition silver coins, the shipping of that, the currency shop, and other channel related updates. Now to the headlines. This week, President Donald J. Trump, as you know, was officially sworn in on DC as the 47th President of the United States. Among the many actions items included Trump's beginning a remarkable comeback in the golden age. Trump's 200 executive orders and actions on day one, with 100 executive orders executed within the first day. Amazon is laying off employees in its North American stores division, impacting roughly 200 employees across the US, the company confirmed on Thursday. Nordstrom to lay off 300 people in Massachusetts. Banking giant Citigroup eliminated more jobs this week, with managing directors in the wealth sector and technology units leaving the bank, Bloomberg reported on Thursday, citing people familiar with the matter. According to the report, the bank is also cutting a team that compiles data analysis on Citi's clients. Senior departures included Zadman Safar, the bank's Dallas co-chief information officer, who is also retiring. Speaking of banks, Capital One is not having such a hot couple of days. As USA Today reports, the banking behemoth was besieged Thursday morning by customers complaining that their deposits were not showing up. Down Detector showed a bit north of 2,000 customers clocking outages around 8 a.m. And citing on X was being asked plenty of questions along the lines of, is anyone else having an issue with Capital One? I can't reach anyone online and app is not working. Back in the day, Prospect Medical Holdings was known for cash-strapped hospitals. They owned 166 clinics nationwide, spanning California, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. Today, the same firm is struggling with over $400 million in debt and has declared bankruptcy in Texas, endangering the jobs of nearly 12,600 of its employees. LinkedIn co-founder and tech billionaire says the 9-to-5 work week will be extinct within 10 years. Tech mogul Reid Hoffman has made a daring prediction that the 9-to-5 workday is on its way out. Excuse me, as artificial intelligence advances, the gig economy flourishes with platforms like Uber, Airbnb, and Just Eat. We've already witnessed major changes in the job market. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said negotiations have reached an agreement on a ceasefire within the Gaza Strip that would free Israeli hostages, ending 2 days of debate that had underscored the pact's fragility. Hours after the announcement from Netanyahu, who had accused Hamas of reneging on parts of the agreement originally announced Wednesday, Israel's Security Cabinet approved the multi-phase deal. Full cabinet is expected to convene later on Friday to vote. Walgreens is continuing to close stores as part of its turnaround plans. The thinning of Walgreens locations has been in the works. Walgreens said in October 2024 it planned to close about 1,200 underperforming stores across the U.S. as a strategy to offset declining profits resulting from low drug reimbursement rates to sluggish retail sales. Those 1,200 stores will be closed over the next 3 years, with nearly 500 to be closed within the fiscal year of 2025, which ends in August. The U.S. Justice Department has initiated litigation against Walgreens Boots Alliance, one of the nation's leading pharmacy chains, for allegedly dispensing controlled substances without legitimate medical justification. The suit lodged in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois on January 16th of 2025 implicates Walgreens and its subsidiaries in a decade-long pattern of Controlled Substance Act, CSA violations, and subsequent False Claims Act infringements through seeking unwarranted reimbursements from federal healthcare programs. Starbucks has made a big decision that marks the end of its open door policy, which was introduced in 2018. From now on, the company will require customers to make a purchase in order to use their restrooms in their stores. This move, designated to prioritize paying customers, represents a shift from the previous strategy that allowed anyone to use the facilities regardless of whether they made a purchase. Starbucks said Friday it plans an unspecified number of layoffs as it restructures its corporate staff. In a letter to employees, Starbucks chairman and CEO Brian Nichols said the Seattle coffee giant needs to ensure all work has a clear and accountable owner who can make decisions. The company also needs to reduce complexity and silos. Former Oakland, California Mayor Sheng Tao, who was recalled by voters in November, has been indicted by a federal grand jury on corruption charges. In addition to Tao, the Justice Department charged her boyfriend, Andre Jones, the head of a local waste company, David Trung Duong, and Duong Sung, Andy Hung Duong. Amazon is taking away one of its perks from Prime members that make online shopping easier. The retail giant, which is slashing prices on several items, recently announced it's ending its try before you buy program. The last day to use this perk is January 31st, according to Associated Press. This comes after a map revealed which states have the worst porch pirates stealing packages from people's homes. This will result in the loss of over 200 jobs. They also announced on Wednesday the closure of 7 of its facilities in Quebec. The affected sites include fulfillment centers, sorting centers, and delivery stations. The decision resulted in approximately 1,700 permanent job cuts, as well as 250 temporary position losses over the next 2 months. Teamsters union members working at Costco wholesale locations across the country voted to authorize a strike on Sunday, with more than 85% of members in favor of hitting the picket lines. The union represents more than 18,000 Costco employees nationally. Our members have spoken loudly and clearly. Costco must deliver a fair contract or they'll be held accountable, Teamsters member President Sean O'Brien said in a press release on Sunday. The Bank of Queensland has sparked outrage after announcing it will close more than a dozen branches. The move has been described by the union as a despicable act after the bank made the announcement on Monday. They will close from February 19th to the 27th this year. BOQ has made the difficult decision to close 14 branches as we continue to simplify operations and more customers embrace digital banking, a BOQ spokesman said. WH Smith is set to close 17 of its stores over the next several months following a string of closures last year. It comes after WH Smith previously announced plans to open up 110 branches in airports, train stations, and hospitals, whereby profits were higher than the high street shops, as well as more than 50 stores in North America. The iconic high street chain has already seen 2 of its stores in Luton, Bedfordshire, and Old Church Street Road in Bournemouth close its doors for good on January 18th. Governor Ron DeSantis has declared a state of emergency as unusual winter storms sweep through the Florida Panhandle and parts of North Florida, bringing the threat of snow, ice, as well as freezing rain to a region unaccustomed to such conditions. In an executive order issued on Monday, DeSantis warned that all modes of hazardous winter weather will be likely, including snow, sleet, and freezing rain. Forecasts predict 1 to 3 inches of snow in the Panhandle, with icy conditions possibly spreading east to the Swanee River Valley, thereby creating a significant hazard for residents and travelers. Several major U.S. banks have reportedly announced plans to close more than 110 branches across the nation between Thanksgiving and the beginning of January, according to an exclusive investigation by the Daily Mail. Among these include Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank, Bank of America, and Chase, the newspaper wrote. The investigation is based on closures registered within the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, which means that the closures are planned. Target announced in mid-January that it saw record sales during its 2024 holiday season and lifted its sales guidance, foreseeing a 1.5% increase in comparable store sales during the fourth quarter. Similarly, Walmart raised its sales guidance for fiscal 2025 after a bumper holiday shopping season, also lifting its net sales, operating income, and earnings per share for the year ahead. Another struggling retailer in 2025, Advanced Auto Parts, is set to close after the automaker Auto Parts store with nearly 5,000 stores across North America. In 2024, November, the retailer announced it would shutter 523 corporate-owned locations, exit 204 independent locations, and close 4 distribution centers, mainly on the West Coast. Now, Advanced Auto Parts has begun to sell off some of those stores, announcing they have put 200 leased locations and 24 owned locations up for sale. A major part of Advanced Auto Parts' issue is that it has way too many locations across the country. Its over 4,900 locations beats out even that of Walmart, which has just over 4,000 locations in the U.S., according to 2024 numbers. And since the former sells stuff primarily for cars and trucks, the niche retailer has way too much property to run and maintain in order for it to be a profitable business. A federal appeals court has upheld a ruling demanding former BK Racing owner Ron Devine pay $31 million, marking a substantial development in the fallout from the NASCAR team's bankruptcy. BK Racing had its first NASCAR race in 2012 and closed operations 6 years later. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals issued the decision on Friday, confirming a 2022 bankruptcy court judgment tied to Devine's alleged mismanagement of team's finances, as well as failure to comply with legal procedures. Capital One, one of the largest bank holding companies in the United States, has finally restored its services after a prolonged outage left thousands of customers locked out of their accounts. The disruption that began on January 16th caused a power outage at FIS Global, a third-party vendor responsible for banking services such as payment processing and deposits. The bank announced a resolution on January 19th through a post on X stating account functionality for all customers is now restored. Capital One expressed its sincere apologies and frustrating experience and encouraged customers to check their accounts online and contact support staff if needed. The oldest independent bookseller in San Francisco's Bay Area has filed for Chapter 11 protection and set to close one of its stores. Books Inc., a 174-year-old independent bookstore, announced on January 21st it filed for a voluntary petition for reorganization, caused financial struggles as well as revenue loss. In an official statement, CEO Andy Perham said that their Berkeley location is set to close its doors on February 9th. That concludes the headline news. Now to the precious metals and crude oil prices. As always, the time of this broadcast, gold holding steady at $2,748.10. Silver down slightly at $30.64, and Brent crude up slightly at $79.22. Now for the resignations of the week. Mark Weidman, BlackRock's top client-facing executive and a possible successor to CEO Larry Fink, said on Wednesday he would voluntarily step away from his role in the spring after a 20-year stint at the firm. On the same day, two JP Morgan executives apparently took their names out of the running to replace the longest-serving CEO of a major bank, Jamie Dimon, who is retiring. The others reportedly has no interest in the role. Both examples prove the difficulty of replacing a longtime leader, and in finance, the transition process is particularly difficult, said Chris Stanley, Moody's senior director and its banking industry practice lead. Banco Santander is considering leaving the UK, the Financial Times reported on Saturday, citing people familiar with the matter. According to the report, the people said that the Spanish lender is considering a host of options, including leaving Britain. They reportedly added that the review was in the early stages and said that no imminent announcement was expected. Republican businessman Vivek Ramaswamy is planning to leave his new appointment leading the Department of Government Efficiency, known as DOGE, and announce a run for Ohio governor, according to two sources familiar with the planning. Ramaswamy is expected to announce his run for governor early next week. Sources said President Trump had tapped Ramaswamy to lead the newly created DOGE alongside Elon Musk with the goal of slashing back government spending. President Trump has named Brian Driscoll to serve as the acting director of the FBI on Monday, marking one of his first moves on Inauguration Day. Just days ago, Driscoll was tapped to lead the FBI's Newark field office. According to the FBI website, Driscoll became a special agent in 2007. He has experience working from the agency's New York field office and also worked on the FBI SWAT team. The announcement came shortly after FBI Acting Director Paul Abadi retired on Monday, reportedly just minutes before President Trump took office. United States Attorney for the Northern District of West Virginia, William Einfeld, has announced he is stepping down from the position effective Monday at 11:59 a.m., a minute before President Trump was sworn in for the second time. Microsoft Corporation, the $3.32 trillion tech giant with a great financial health score, according to Investing Pro, announced today the immediate resignation of Christopher D. Young, who served as the Executive VP of Business Development, Strategy, and Ventures. Young has decided to step down from his role and will continue as an employee to assist with the transition until the end of March. And that concludes the resignations. Now on to the notable deaths. Beloved baseball broadcaster and actor Bob Uecker, who paralyzed an unremarkably playing career into a decades-long stint behind the mic and in front of the camera, died on Thursday, officials said. The man we knew affectionately as Uke, or Mr. Baseball, was 90. He was diagnosed with a small cell lung cancer in early 2023. Loved ones said, even in the face of these challenges, his enthusiasm for life was always present, never allowing his spirit to falter, according to a family statement. Uecker had been a fixture behind the mic in Milwaukee since 1971, though he'd cut back from a full-time 162-game schedule in recent years. Tommy Brown, a former shortstop, left fielder, and pinch hitter for three MLB teams from 1944, 45, to 47, and then again in 53, died Wednesday, according to Wednesday afternoon social media post from Ben Lindbergh of The Ringer. He was 97. A native of Brooklyn, New York, Brown was the final living member of the 1947 Brooklyn Dodgers, the team for which Jackie Robinson debuted at first base on April 15th, thereby integrating the National League. Celebrated filmmaker David Lynch has died at the age of 76. His family has said the death of the American filmmaker, writer, and artist who scored Best Director, Oscar nominations for Blue Velvet, The Elephant Man, and Mulholland Drive, and was the co-creator of the groundbreaking TV show Twin Peaks, was announced on Thursday. Eric Weissman, the veteran entertainment attorney who repped Rita Hayworth, Robert Altman, Elizabeth Taylor, and Gene Wilder in a career that lasted more than 5 decades, has died. He was 94. Weissman died December 15th in Denver of natural causes, according to his granddaughter, Sarah McRae, who told The Hollywood Reporter. Legendary NBA point guard Gus Williams died on Wednesday at the age of 71. The Seattle Times reported the news of his death. Former basketball star had been living in a care facility in Baltimore since suffering a stroke in 2020. Cause of death has not been announced. We're doing a switch here, folks, to be more brief with the weekly wrap-ups, to also respect our time as well as, more importantly, yours. So what we're doing going forward is, for a complete list of all the weekly notable deaths, we're going to be deferring to legacy.com, which you can find on YouTube, and we will post that in our Telegram alongside this video for the weekly wrap-ups, which does a full breadth and depth analysis of all the deaths of all the people, along with pictures, full stories on their life for those who want to know that information. So in order to save time and defer to their expertise, we will be doing that going forward. I'm sure many of you will be pleased about that. Now to the weekly commentary. Folks, we're seeing way too much division within the community. This is not the heart of God, nor is it something we as a team desire to foster. Of course, no one is right, including us, 100% of the time, except for the Lord. Too many voices out there are competing for airtime and who is right and who is wrong. This is a distraction, a waste of time, and ultimately not edifying. If you're seeking sanity or your peace in people, you're looking in the wrong place, and that includes here. The Lord is the only place where you will get 100% of the peace all the time. Again, our greatest strength is in our oneness. So let's focus on that and building each other up and not tearing each other down. That concludes this week's wrap up. As always, any breaking news we'll report. Otherwise, have a great and safe weekend. We've made it to the other side, thank goodness. Take care. God bless. Goodbye for now.